France's Napoleon Bonaparte once said, "Never interrupt your opponent when he is making a mistake." The Iowa State Fair is the largest gathering of Iowans that is held every year at this time. And given that the Republican caucus is on January 15th, basically 5 months from right now, it is not a surprise that every Republican candidate is currently in Iowa trying to meet and engage with as many Iowans as they possibly can. Because in the history of the Iowa Republican caucus, you have to place in the top 3 if you want to have any chance of moving on and becoming your party's nominee. In the past, I have been happy to go to the Republican side and caucus with the Republicans as a way to make mischief. In 1996, I supported Pat Buchanan, caucused for him in Dubuque. In 2012, I returned to Cedar Rapids and caucused for Rick Santorum. In both cases, I was caucusing for a person who I knew had absolutely no chance to win in the general election. So I was a Democrat, participating lawfully in the Republican caucus, totally legal, but I was doing it for not good reasons. In 2024, we Iowa independents and Democrats can participate in the Republican caucus, but we have to decide in advance which one of the sane Republicans we can all coalesce around, because we need to know that Republicans have a chance of being sane again. We know Donald Trump is going to get 1 ticket, but we Democrats and independents can help get a sane Republican to get one of the other 2 tickets. Now, I actually have criteria of what I think it takes to be a sane Republican. I'm not going to go into in this video, but the one criteria that I will say in this video is that they have to be willing to accept the results of the 2020 election. If they don't at least do that, they're not sane. With the rest of the criteria, I'm going to let it go for now, but I will show you the candidates that currently qualify, and I hope we can have a discussion about that. Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie has definitely been the one who's been the most forceful speaking truth to power candidate on the Republican side. Unfortunately, he's running as a protest candidate. There's absolutely no chance he has of getting the nomination. And were he to get the nomination, and also he's not even running in Iowa. So for us Iowans, he's not to be on our radar. Next up, Doug Burgum is the governor of North Dakota. The interviews I've heard with him, he's pretty sane. But he doesn't appear to be running for president. For the record, he's a billionaire. He doesn't need the job. He's truly doing this because it's what he wants to do. But from the interviews I've seen of him, he seems to want to be the Secretary of Energy more than he wants to be the President of the United States. So until he actually creates a real platform of things other than oil and energy, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott seems to be running a very positive Reagan-esque campaign. And as a black man, I think it would be interesting to see a black man as a candidate for the Republican nomination. But in all truth, so far, what we've seen of him is that he is following in Reagan's footsteps. Reagan ran for president in '76, didn't get it, ran again in '80, got it. So far, he seems to be playing in the Ronald Reagan playbook in that, I know I'm not getting the nomination this time, so just let me not make any enemies and I'll run again in the next cycle. Also from South Carolina is Nikki Haley, and she deserves a little bit of credit in the sense that there are not many people that previously worked for Donald Trump that somehow had their stature gain from having a job with him. So she did serve as the UN ambassador for Donald Trump for the first couple of years, and she left with relatively good reviews. Anyhow, so far her campaign has not gone anywhere. That leaves Congressman Will Hurd. Will Hurd is a Republican congressman who retired from Congress from Texas. He I listened to an extended thing where he co-hosted a podcast, and it's not worth listening to the podcast for a lot of reasons, but he is definitely an interesting guy. He is consistent in ways that no other Republican candidate could be. He is also has a black and white parent, so he's biracial. He supports he's pro-life, but then he also is against the death penalty, and he thinks it's very important to actually care about the baby after it's born, which most Republicans seem to only care about a fetus, and once that fetus comes out, we don't care anymore. So Will Hurd is somebody that, I don't know, by the time January rolls around, if he catches fire, he might be one for us to support. The bottom line is that we need to make sure that somebody who supports democracy becomes a Republican nominee. America works when we have two healthy parties. And normally, I'd be happy to see, like Napoleon Bonaparte said, I'd be happy to see my opponents just destroy each other. But we've now reached a point where this is beyond them just destroying each other. It's them possibly destroying democracy. So, as a true blue Iowan, I am an American first, an Iowan second, and a Democrat third. I care about my country.